Venom: The Last Dance, Venom 3. Yeah, I don't think did Venom 2 do very well. I remember that came out when I was running the Water Tower Cinema in like 2021, and I don't remember there being a lot of fanfare around it or it doing very well either. This is, but of all of these Sony non-Spider-Man movies, this seems to be the one that the series that people like, at least. I didn't particularly like the first one. I thought it should have been rated R. The second one, I remember Woody Harrelson was in it. The third one, I booked it here, and tonight I was like, yeah, you know what, we got done early. I'm gonna stay and watch it. It left zero impression on me. I'm waiting for the end credits to end now, so I can turn the projector off and go home. I don't know. It's not bad enough to be on the level of a Madame Web or a Morbius kind of thing. It's just forgettable. There are moments where it is inspired. I do like the interplay between Tom Hardy's Eddie Brock character and Venom. But it seems like Venom in these movies kind of reminds me of Homer Simpson in a way, where like Homer got dumber as the seasons went on. It feels like in these movies, like Venom just gets stupider as they go. But there are times the interplay between him and this CGI character works out really well. There's I like the Mrs. Chen character. I like the little scene they have with them dancing. I thought that was sweet. It's weird that you have the dude who played the Lizard in the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movies, who was also in No Way Home, which is the same universe as Venom, because they taught in the very beginning of this movie he's still in the universe where like Thanos was and shit like that, and then he gets sucked out of that universe and he's like, I'm tired of the multiverse shit, which I think we all are. To have that actor then play a completely different character in this movie, and then the dude who in the first Doctor Strange movie, who played like the bad, the bad wizard, he's also in this movie. It's like, are we running out of fucking actors, or are there just only a couple people who will still take Sony and Marvel's calls, But the Moon family, the driving around in their Winnebago, the dad wants to they want to go to Area 51 and see it because it's being closed down. All the stuff with the family I thought worked really, really well. I thought that was like a nice, fun little scene. But then to have to figure out a way to bring all of these characters through the story and into the third act, you have to take some real fucking leaps in logic and storytelling to get everybody in the same place at the end. And I don't know, I just felt myself like, I'm watching it because I'm gonna do a review, and it's got some good needle drops. It's got some better music than Joker 2 had. You got David Bowie, you got Cat Stevens, you got ABBA, and Wu-Tang Clan in there and stuff. There are some funny lines. Some of the things got me some chuckles out of me. Venom kills people who abuse dogs. I'm all for that. But your main villain is Null, and he's the one who created all the symbiotes, and he's being imprisoned, and Andy Serkis plays him, Gollum, also the director of the second Venom movie. But he bad guys in one room the entire movie. He's never actually part of the story. They'll just cut to him periodically where he expunges some expositional dialogue, and then it's back to the story. And then the most part, you're just fighting, the bland cliche, the skull crawler kind of things from Kong's Skull Island, or the 8mm, the one that J.J. Abrams made that just looks like it's a Steven Spielberg movie. or the Cloverfield-y kind of looking monsters that not quite the Brood from the X-Men looking things. They were all very generic looking. And then you have the other symbiotes who are trapped in Area 51, and they all have their like little moments, but it's not enough. The movie just kind of like passes over you. The relationship between Eddie and Venom, I was like, oh, cool, yeah, a road trip movie, that would be great. The Venom using the symbiote on a lizard, or using the symbiote on a horse, or a frog, or whatever. Cool, yeah, let's do that. But everything just kind of just glosses over, and you're left with nothing. It's a fart of a movie, You're in one place for a little bit, then you're in another place for a little bit. Now you're over here. There's lots of scenes of Juno Temple and the bad wizard from Doctor Strange just talking at Area 51, almost like something out of a 50s B movie. And the CGI doesn't look great either. It's again, it's not bad enough to be fun bad like a Madame Web or a Morbius, but also it doesn't leave you with anything. And then it tries to manipulate your heartstrings every once in a while, but it does it in such a laid back way that you're really left with nothing in this movie. And I can't say that sucks, because I went into it not expecting or giving a shit about it either. But I was like, okay, well, if it could surprise me and do something interesting with the road trip movie and using Area 51 and using the Noel character, but it's really just a whole bunch of nothing that in the end amounts to nothing. It's a bunch of empty CGI and empty musical drops and just washes over, and I'm gonna probably forget it the same way I forgot part 2. I remember little things of part 1. I remember like Heath Ledger's ex-wife was in it, and the chick from Boogie Nights, who was also in one scene of Ed Wood. She plays like a homeless lady outside of the Mrs. Chen's store. But there isn't really a lot about that movie. And I think she turns into a Lady Venom at one point. There isn't really a lot about it that I recall. There are just times when the actors feel like they would rather be anywhere else than in this movie. But then there are times when Tom Hardy, you're like, oh, okay, no, he seems like he's having a good time. Like when they get to Vegas, all the stuff with him knocking the dude out to put the suit on, and the conversation between him and Venom, I thought that was clever and funny and unique. As clever, funny, unique as this movie will give you. But I don't know, like as growing up, like I remember the very first time that Venom was in the fucking comics, and I remember how big a deal it was when Venom action figures and he was in the animated series. He was a fucking badass character, and one of those 90s characters up there with like Spawn, that like or the Max or somebody like that, like kids like really really gravitated towards. And we've all been waiting, because Spider-Man 3's version of Venom was their Eddie Brock was the boy from that 70s show, and it's like so I was excited for this version of it, and I like Tom Hardy a lot, but this series kind of just left me oh yeah, that was a thing. When the second one came out, I was just like, did I see part 1? Yeah, so okay, yes, I did see part 1. And now I'm seeing this one, I'm like, did I see part 2? It's like, I guess that's the worst thing you can be, is if you're just a fart in the wind of a movie. You leave no lasting impression. Like, everybody's gonna remember Morbius and Madame Web because they're fucking train wrecks. But when it comes to something like this, you're gonna have to think like, is that one? And that sucks. But again, I really didn't expect much from this one. The hippie family I enjoyed. Some of the interplay between Eddie and Venom I enjoyed. But for the most part, it was just utterly forgettable. Almost on every level. Cinematography, it was a very dark movie, and it just kind of moves from place to place with no weight behind it. Much like the CGI just felt weightless at a lot of times. and actors kind of seemed like they were on autopilot for most of the time as well. So that's my less than glowing review, I guess we could say, of Venom: The Last Dance. Makes me want to go listen to Cat Stevens, though. I do love me some Cat Stevens and some, and David Bowie. I like the scene in the Winnebago when he's singing, Ground Control to Major Tom. It sort of reminds me of the Tiny Dancer scene in Almost Famous to a degree, and that's probably what the director was going for as well, is to kind of have these little character moments. But really, that's the only part of the movie that I thought shined, was that. Everything else just kind of like, I found myself looking at my phone a lot. I'm the only one in the theater. I watched it after hours. I just found myself kind of looking at my phone for a while and doom scrolling through Twitter or Facebook or something like that, and then looking up when something loud happens, and then looking back down, because I was just like, this isn't grabbing me in any way, shape, or form. And then before I did the review, I read the synopsis on Wikipedia, just to be like, okay, I remember that happening, I remember that happening, I remember that happening. Oh, okay, that's who that was. Oh, okay, they're this character, and just being like, it doesn't grab me. I'm sure people will like this one. I know a lot of people who really, really like the other two. I was excited to see Carnage, and then, like I said, I forgot the fucking movie existed. I just remember in the second one that, in the first one, Woody Harrelson had like a big, like, Spirit Halloween wig on. In the second one, they got rid of that. And 3 fucking movies, and he never once had the proper Venom logo on his chest. Like, what the fuck is up with that, man? They could have done a really cool sort of body horror thing with this series, or leaned further into the buddy comedy stuff, and I don't know. Yeah, but we'll never. And there was times in this one where I thought Spider-Man might show up. I was like, well, maybe there's gonna be like a Andrew Garfield Spider-Man will show up into something, but no, nothing like that. There's no point in staying for the after credit scenes. Also, it just it's a fart of a movie. It's here, you linger in it for a moment, and then it's fucking gone.